Eyewitness News at noon.
This is a special edition of Channel 3 Eyewitness News, a national tragedy, attack on America.
I was at Oklahoma City bombing the Murray building. This is like 20 of them all in one.
Exhausted rescuers sift through what's left of the Twin Towers while the country tries to recover from the devastating attack on America. You know, that gentleman's comment really does put everything to perspective, because the Oklahoma City bombing, there was about 168 fatalities, and this could be 10, 20,
multiple, many times more than that. Good afternoon. It is 12. I'm David Nelson. This is more special coverage locally and both what's happening down in New York today. Rescue and recovery efforts continue in Manhattan this noon among the devastation.
President Bush will be visiting the disaster site tomorrow, and that is where Gretchen Carlson is live in New York City with the very latest.
As rescuers still search through the wreckage, some of the numbers are starting to come in. The mayor of New York confirms that 94 bodies have been recovered from the World Trade Center site here, but only 46 of those have actually been identified, and the final death toll will undoubtedly be much worse.
With each passing minute, the chances of finding survivors in this mountain of rubble becomes slimmer. It's a heart-wrenching reality that's even more horrifying for relatives of the missing.
I called every single hospital, everywhere, everything. I called every hospital, like 38 of them. He called me up. He said, I might not make it. The plane hit the building. There's a lot of smoke. The ceiling's caving in. I love you. Give the kids a kiss.
New York City has set up a missing persons center for relatives of victims, but many are roaming the streets of Manhattan searching on their own.
We desperately have to find him. He has this little baby, 16 months old, and my daughter's pregnant again.
Officials say over 4,500 people are now confirmed missing, most likely buried under an estimated 450 tons of debris. New York City has some 30,000 body bags available.
So there's 94 bodies, 70 body parts. And I'm sorry that I have to describe it that way.
And while rescuers push forward, a disturbing call from one of the victims. 31-year-old Melissa Hughes was at the World Trade Center on business when the attack happened.
Sean, it's me. I just wanted to let you know I love you, and I'm stuck in this building in New York. We hit the building where a bomb went off. We don't know, but there's lots of smoke, and we just wanted you to know that I love you always.
She's still missing.
Meantime, rescuers continue to search the buildings nearby to see if they are stable, because that is making the rescue mission much more difficult for them. They continue to be unstable. I'm Gretchen Carlson reporting live in New York City. Let's go live now to my colleague Teri Okita near the Pentagon. Teri?
Gretchen, thank you. The Pentagon has released preliminary numbers of dead here. They say at least 190 people were killed. 70 bodies have been pulled from the rubble so far. And as the search continues, U.S. airspace has now been opened up, but expect higher levels of security than ever before.
The skies over the United States may be reopening soon, but passengers will find it difficult to get around.
I strongly urge all passengers to allow plenty of time to deal with the heightened security procedures, and also to exercise patience with airport and airline employees.
Officials say the tight security is absolutely necessary after Tuesday's terrorist attacks that stunned the nation. They have evidence this was a well-financed operation that involved tremendous ground support, and they pledge the military response will be equally devastating.
We have just seen the first war of the 21st century. And there's universal approval of the statements I have made, and I am confident there will be universal approval of the actions this government takes.
Investigators are crisscrossing the nation and beyond, one lead taking them to Florida, where they believe some of the hijackers learned to fly planes. Early yesterday, they confiscated documents from Huffman Aviation.
I came in at 7 o'clock in the morning. They were still there. I talked briefly with them. They were ready to go. I told them that we have more customers, clients from the Middle East, and I thought it was a good idea to give them all my files.
In Hamburg, Germany, police combed apartments believed to be linked to two men involved in the attacks. The two are said to have come to the U.S. from Germany in July 2000. And German police detained at least one person believed to be connected to the attacks.
President Bush has declared Friday a day of prayer and remembrance, and following a church service here in Washington tomorrow, he'll head to New York to inspect the damage himself. Reporting live from the Pentagon, I'm Teri Okita. Now back to you.
Thank you so much, Teri, for that live report.
Thank you very much, Teri. The U.S. government is sending agents to airports across the country to make sure everything goes smoothly as planes do begin flying again today. Attorney General John Ashcroft says there are going to be U.S. Marshals to make sure airports and flights are secure.
This is all part of what it's going to be like to fly from now on. Channel 3's Sarah Barr is live at Bradley International Airport with the latest on how things are going there. Sarah.
Well, Ellie and David, there's no movement here yet at Bradley International, but I'm talking to passengers and they say they are ready to roll. 15 planes are here at the airport, but according to folks at operations and the DOT, there is no word yet on when they will take off. But still, many passengers have gathered at ticket counters to book and rebook flights. Delta seems to have the most people in line. Many are anxious to get home after this unexpected stayover, but understand the added security and precautions. However, one gentleman we spoke to, he's from Los Angeles, and he's not only dealing with this national crisis, he's dealing with a personal one as well.
About 4 days ago, actually, for training with my company, and then got word that my wife was in the hospital, and so yesterday morning, or Tuesday morning, tried to get out and was about 5 minutes away from the airport, and that's when I locked everything down. So she's back. Unfortunately, we're possibly going to lose our baby, and so I'm trying to get back as soon as I can to be there with her.
It is a difficult time for many people, both personally and here in the nation. We are hoping that everyone can get home soon and safely. And here to talk a little bit more about that is my colleague Lou Martinez. Lou, how's the security?
Well, you can see the sense of heightened security here, Sarah, at the airport. You're seeing less traffic over bomb-sniffing dogs patrolling the airport. You could also see a line of state police cruisers taking up the curbs at the terminal. Right now, all you can do if you're bringing a passenger or someone who's traveling, you can drop them off and move on. They're no longer giving you the time to linger around. Over in the parking lots, the FAA has mandated that airlines move the cars away from short-term parking. If you look over my shoulder, you can see there are more cars to the rear of the airport. That's long-term parking. This morning, the airport began towing cars from short-term parking and moving them back. The airport also added more Jersey barriers to secure that area in short-term parking. How long that's going to be, we don't know, but that's one of the major security measures that they're taking here at the airport. We have heard talk about federal agents getting on airplanes to secure the airplanes. I spoke to the FAA this morning. The FAA will not confirm or deny that federal marshals will begin to travel on airplanes as a security force, but a spokesman there did tell me that they are increasing air federal marshals throughout the country. Another thing passengers should know about, many are wondering about carry-on baggage. Well, the FAA is not putting down a mandate on carry-on baggage. They're telling me that it will be up to the airlines. Now, a few years ago, airlines reduced the size of carry-ons onto aircrafts. Right now, there's talk that airlines may do away with carry-ons altogether. Back to you in the studio.
You know, Lou, Bradley's always been such a convenient airport. A lot of us are used to getting there an hour before and checking in and walking right on the plane. Those days are over.
Well, that's a good point. You know, we've been told time and time again when we had the bombing over in Oklahoma, these measures were taking place. We were told to be out here an hour early. Now start thinking about being here 2 hours earlier. You can expect some delays out here, but with what we've been through, you know, it's something that we need to do right now, and patience will be a virtue.
All right, thank you so much, Lou. Lou Martinez reporting, and earlier Sarah Barr from Bradley International Airport.
A group of local firefighters traveled to the area today doing what they can in New York to help find some of the 4,700 victims still unaccounted for.
Channel 3's Kara Sundlun made the trip with the firefighters this morning and has the latest from New York City. Good afternoon, Kara.
Good afternoon. We caught up with about a dozen firefighters on the platform of the Fairfield train station and rode down here to New York City with them. I'm standing just about 20 blocks away from where the World Trade Center once stood. This is as far as we are able to go, but those firefighters made it much further. They are, as we speak, at Ground Zero, aiding in the rescue and recovery effort. This is what they had to say before they went in.
We've seen it on TV, so we're sensitized to it, but we're also desensitized. You know, on TV, it's surreal.
The disaster will no doubt hit home for the firefighters as they work to pull bodies from ground zero. As they arrived in New York City, the Connecticut greeted with thank yous from bystanders. A priest stopped them in the middle of the street. One firefighter who's already been there briefed the other guys on what he has seen.
And I was just, I just couldn't believe the scene. I just to believe that there's thousands of people maybe in those buildings,
As the bus headed Grand Central Station to ground zero, the firefighters couldn't help but think of what they left behind.
Of course, I have an 8-month-old baby at home. So you're always thinking of the dangers. You want to be aware of everything around you.
The firefighters, of course, could not bring much with them, but Robert Kellerman, the man you just heard from, told me he did manage to slip a piece of his baby daughter's blanket in his pocket. It was a white piece of blanket with purple daisies. Now, to tell you about just the spirit of giving here, those firefighters were not called here to help. They simply said, how could they not go? Live in New York City, Kara Sundlun, Channel 3 Eyewitness News.
All right, thank you so much, Kara, for that live report.
Thanks, Kara. Now, another group of shoreline firefighters is answering the call to help in New York. 19 North Haven firefighters headed to the city yesterday morning to join those rescue efforts. Deputy Chief Jack Brockett returned with a small piece of melted metal remains from one of the fallen towers. He says he'll never forget what it's like there.
A lot of people up there with torches. They're cutting everything apart. We couldn't go in there with hand tools, or we call it K-12 saw. The beams were too thick for us. They're actually using welding torches to cut it and pull it apart piece by piece. And by that, those big I-beams there, it's possible that somebody could still be trapped underneath an I-beam.
The North Haven crew was joined by 14 firefighters from West Haven and East Haven.
The East Hartford Fire Department is helping the rescue effort in New York. East Hartford firefighters are collecting clothing and socks for rescue workers.
If you have something you'd like to donate, it certainly would be appreciated. You may drop it by any East Hartford Fire Department. The collection will go on for the rest of the week. Later on in this hour, we're going to talk to a member of the East Hartford Fire Department to find out more about what they're doing.
There are countless organizations in Connecticut that are accepting offers to help out, so you can log onto our website to find out what those are. That is at WFSB.com, and you can log on for all the information.
Now, a large section of New York City is still sealed off today as the rescue and recovery operation continues.
Channel 3's Dennis Howes has been in the city since Tuesday's calculated terrorist attack, and he joins us live now with the latest. Dennis.
David and Ellee, the shock, the disbelief, and the fear are actually starting to turn to a very heavy sadness for the families of the people feared lost in the World Trade Center explosions on Tuesday. The city of New York has ordered an additional 16,000 body bags, we're told. They are fearing the very worst. Many families from Connecticut are coming here to Manhattan to look for their loved ones. As we showed you last night, there's some people walking around the city with pictures of their mothers and fathers and sons and brothers and so forth to see if anyone has seen anything. And there's an armory set up where many people are going today. Families of those missing at the World Trade Center are gathering here at the Armory at 26th and Lexington. They're bringing pictures of their loved ones and information about them. Robert Rowley of Danbury says this has been a horrible trip.
Looking for our son-in-law, Robert Higley.
Where was he at the time of the explosion?
He called us after the first plane hit. He was in the second building. He called us after the first plane hit and said he was going to leave the building, but we haven't heard from him since.
What kind of things did you have to bring down today?
Pictures, ID information, employment information, that sort of thing.
It's horrible to even think about, but we're told that the medical examiner's office will also need some items which may contain the DNA of a victim, a toothbrush, a hairbrush, things like that. And many people are bringing those to that center as well. Once you get there, you apparently have to fill out a 7-page form asking all sorts of details about your loved ones. Do they have tattoos? What kind of hair? What kind of jewelry they wore? And things like that to help in the identification process, which could be going on, David and Ellee, for weeks, but certainly a very, very difficult task for anyone to do. And many families are coming down to do just that. A little bit later in this broadcast, we're going to take you around the neighborhood and show you what's going on here.
All right, thank you so much,
Dennis, just looking behind you, that appears to be the most activity, at least that we've seen in our live shots so far, since this all started. It seems to be quite a few people back there now.
There certainly is. This is, David, just to put it into perspective, this is the beginning of the Soho neighborhood. We're at West Houston and the Avenue of the Americas. And here is where this is the furthest point that anyone can walk down here. After you get to this point, In order to go any further south into the financial district and further into Soho, you need to have some sort of identification to prove where you live, and they're pretty strict about that. They don't want more people down there than absolutely necessary. Then when you get down, you'll reach another checkpoint even further down, and you can't get beyond there. This fire station, by the way, over here, we're told this station house lost several people, several men and women in the blast. As you know, we're only about a mile from the World Trade Center, so there is a lot of activity. Many people are coming down here simply to take pictures of a diabolical chapter in our history. And the experts here really, they'd like to limit the number of people coming down here because of all the traffic. It just sort of impedes what's going on here. Every so often, David and Ellie, you mentioned there is more traffic. You'll see some ambulances coming by. Who is in them, we don't know. Is it a firefighter who went down there today or yesterday and was overcome by the smoke, or is it a victim of the initial disaster? We simply do not know. You'll also see some dump trucks full of debris from the World Trade Center, what's left of it. We're told there's so much debris, David and Ellie, that they could actually build a sidewalk that'd be 5 feet wide from here to Washington, D.C. with just the cement used in the buildings that are lost. So we're talking about a lot of digging that people have to do to get to the people that still might be trapped alive underneath all of that. So
that is just incredible, Dennis.
All right, thanks, Dennis. Dennis House reporting live, as he has been now, from New York. Now, coming up this afternoon here on Channel 3, a very special edition of Oprah. The entire show is going to be devoted to dealing with New York and the Washington tragedies.
Some of the topics covered will be questions like how do we grieve and how do we talk to our children, and also how to find solace. Those issues will also be discussed on tomorrow's show. The programs air today and tomorrow at 4 o'clock right here on Channel 3.
In these difficult days since the World Trade Center attack, Connecticut and the world mourns and looks for healing.
Connecticut's major religious leaders will join together tomorrow for an interfaith service of prayer and healing. The service at Hartford's Cathedral of St. Joseph will be broadcast live here on Channel 3 starting at 11 a.m.
Certainly like you to tune in and watch. Join us for a special moment to reflect, mourn, and help the healing process again tomorrow morning right here at 11 on Channel 3. Well, it's hard to believe, but this week's terrible attacks are actually raising prices at the gas pumps.
That story plus how the attacks may affect mail delivery. That's when we come back.
Stay tuned to Channel 3 Eyewitness News for continuing coverage of a national tragedy, Attack on America.
Welcome back to our continuing coverage, Attack on America. It's about 12:20 now, about the time many of us start looking for the mail to come. These attacks are having a ripple effect all across the country and the world. It's also interfering with the delivery of our mail.
Here to tell us how it's being affected and what we should know is Alex Lazaroff of the U.S. Postal Service. He joins us now live in our newsroom. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Mr. Lazaroff, first, tell us about the status of mail delivery here in Connecticut.
Well, basically, mail delivery is on a fairly normal schedule right now. Our retail facilities are open. Our carriers are on the streets delivering mail. The major impact for us has been the halt on air traffic, and that means in some cases a 1 to 2 day delay, depending on the distance that the mail is coming from to Connecticut or going from Connecticut to the other parts of the nation.
So what should our expectations be right now? Let's say we have to mail an air package from here to a destination 1,000, 2,000 miles away. If we send it off today via the U.S. Postal Service, what can we expect?
Well, most of that will move on ground transportation until the air network is freed up. We expect our cargo planes and so forth to be available sometime this weekend. We're not really sure when that's going to happen. But until then, we'll use our surface network to get mail there. Usually that means a 1 or 2 day extra service tacked on to the time it takes to get the mail to its destination.
Mr. Lazaroff, you mentioned ground transportation. Is the Postal Service adding more trucks to the arsenal to get to take care of the load?
Yes, we are. We're adding as many vehicles as is necessary to move mail throughout the country. We have an extensive logistics effort that has been going on all week.
Alex Lazaroff with the U.S. Postal Service, thank you very much for coming in this afternoon.
Thank you so much.
Talking to us.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Wall Street remains closed today and it may not open until Monday. The federal government released $50 billion to help out foreign markets.
We'll be back with more on our continuing coverage, Attack on America, after this.
Stay tuned to Channel 3 Eyewitness News for continuing coverage of a national tragedy, Attack on America.
Our coverage of Attack on America continues, and in no small measure, the weather actually does have an impact on the recovery there.
And Scott Haney is in now with a check on the forecast. Scott.
All right, thank you, Ellie. Thank you, David. Good afternoon, everybody. Just want to remind you, if you had plans to go to Toshi, the Japanese restaurant in Avon tonight for the Channel 3 Kids Camp fundraiser, that has been postponed until next Wednesday, September 19th. So we hope to see you there and raise some money for the kids at the Channel 3 Kids Camp. Obviously, for purposes that you've been witnessing all week long, we have decided to postpone that. Also, we want to thank you so much for your emails about Bruce DePriest. Unfortunately, his brother-in-law was on one of those ill-fated flights. If you'd like to send a message to Bruce, I'm personally going to make sure he gets all of them. weather3@WFSB.com. I'm sure he will appreciate anything you have to say. All right, we're going to take you out and show you some cloud coverage. It's working into the state, and by a little bit later on this afternoon, we are expecting a mostly cloudy late afternoon into the early evening hours. And believe it or not, underneath those clouds, we do have some rain, some much-needed rain. It fell apart. It was all associated with a cold front, but with the daytime heating today, we expect this to re-intensify. It's all associated with a cold front, which is just draped over the entire northeast all the way back into the Ohio River Valley. Once that cold front does approach, it's going to bring some showers, and those showers will last through tonight, probably into tomorrow morning. Again, it is much needed moisture. We could pick up anywhere from 1/4 of an inch to 1/2 inch of rain, so keep your fingers crossed because we definitely need it. Much cooler weather is in store for tomorrow, though, and that is such great news for the firefighters and all of the rescue operations down in New York City, because the heat has been unbearable for those folks. So we're going to drop temperatures by some 20 degrees between today and tomorrow, and it's going to feel a little bit like autumn, not only tonight, but all day tomorrow, and as a matter of fact, right through the weekend. The only chance we have for rain is once again tonight into tomorrow, and that will also help the conditions down in New York, bringing some of that dust and that mess out of the atmosphere, so that's good news. Here's the 5-day planner for you. 79 degrees, mostly sunny and mild, 74 to 79 degrees, and we're just going to go right to the 5-day right now, show you the rest of the planner. 79, 60 tomorrow. Check that out. 79, 60, 79 today, 60 tomorrow, and then Saturday and Sunday we have a much cooler weekend in store. It's going to feel a lot like late October around here rather than late September. I've got some emails I'm going to read a little bit later on in the show. So inspirational. I just love you. That's it.
All right, we'll check back in with you later,
thanks,
Scott. Thanks so much.
We'll be right back.
Stay tuned to Channel 3 Eyewitness News for continuing coverage of a national tragedy, Attack on America.
We continue our coverage of the attack on America. A lot of people trying to help out, some people donating blood, and a number of blood drives are going on this afternoon. In
Naugatuck, go to the Naugatuck Savings Bank if you'd like to help. 87 Church Street, that'll be going on there from 1 this afternoon, about 30 minutes from now, until 5:45. In Trumbull, you can go to the Westfield Shopping Town on Main Street starting at 12:45 this afternoon, going until 6 tonight.
There's also a blood drive at the Westfield Shopping Town in Meriden from 1 until 5:45. The Westfield Shopping Town in Meriden, as we just mentioned, that is at 470 Lewis Avenue from 1 to 5:45.
The Red Cross in Hartford, 75 Pearl Street, a blood drive there from 2:15 this afternoon. Actually, it ends at 2:15 this afternoon. Also in Glastonbury, the First Church of Christ, 2183 Main, from 1:30 until 6.
At Hartford Hospital in Hartford at 80 Seymour Street, they're taking blood donations until 3:45 p.m., but you must make an appointment there. It's gotten so crowded that the hospital is no longer accepting walk-ins, and the Red Cross doesn't want to interrupt the day-to-day interruptions.
And in Wallingford, you can go to the Veterans or the VFW Hall there, post 5901, that's at 23 Prince in Wallingford. Blood drive there from 12:30 this afternoon, starting now until 5:15.
Right now, family members searching for missing relatives are heading to hospitals, hoping their loved ones have survived.
We're coming back in just a minute with a live report and the latest developments from New York.
This is a special edition of Channel 3 Eyewitness News, a national tragedy, Attack on America.
A vast section of New York City is still sealed off today as the rescue and recovery operation there continues.
Channel 3's Dennis House has been in the city since Tuesday's calculated attack, and he joins us live there with more. Good afternoon, Dennis.
Ellie and David, good afternoon to you. I am joined by one of the rescue workers who just came back from the scene. What's your name, sir?
Jack Hoyt.
What did you see down there, Jack?
Well, I saw some of the nicest things that one would want to see, and that was cooperation among all the parties. There were police, firemen, medical centers all around the area as far, well, I was talking to some guys from Chicago, San Antonio, Texas. They're coming in from all over the place.
You work for the EPA. What is your role down there?
At the EPA, I work with the Hazardous Waste Department, and we have to follow up and just make sure that it's handled properly, because you have a situation like this, you have asbestos, PCBs, vinyl materials that are burning, giving off cyanide and stuff like that.
We've had many people, and if we can just pan over here just for 1 second, you can see some of the smoke that's still coming from the World Trade Center. Right. Is there any way to know, sir, what exactly is in that?
What is in the... Well, most of this stuff is heavy enough to settle down to the ground. This is what's dangerous. This is what people are going to be tracking around. The stuff on my shoes.
Yeah.
That's...
and also if we could...
That's it.
What's that?
This is the stuff, this is the grit that gets into the eyelid and irritates the eye. And we had some of my people out there giving out aspirin and eye wash to offer a little bit of comfort to them.
I think we can even further illustrate what is exactly rained down. If you'll come with me here, sir, this vehicle has come from the scene, and this is the soot you're talking about.
Well, you ought to see some of the cars down there. They're
we've
completely
seen worse.
covered, and all of the burnt equipment, fire department trucks destroyed, ambulances destroyed that were underneath when the building went, building 2, and then the other building went after that. It all happened very fast. I got involved with it at the very beginning. I was just walking up the station, the Cortlandt Street station, and as I walked up, I heard a plane. And I said, that plane is flying very low. And as I looked up, it had already just hit the building, and at first we thought it was an accidental flight into it. And a woman fainted. I bent down, another couple of people, some women assisted her, got her out of the stairway when people started running, because that's when the second plane hit. And we knew right away this was a terror action.
Mr. Hoyt, those people who are coming down here to try to see something, I mean, should they be here in terms of breathing?
No. They cannot be blocking, because I'll tell you, the cops, they all did a great job in traffic control, a great job in crowd control. They got those people moving in the right direction, because people were running this way, back and forth in all directions.
And we've heard some stories of some people actually trying to pick up pieces of debris as souvenirs.
I've seen it. Picking up debris?
Yeah.
Oh, that I don't know about. I know that people volunteered to come over and help. It's a hand. I just watch these guys like a chain right down the sides of what's left of the building, taking bucket at a time, a black bucket at a time, one at a time, a piece at a time.
Since you've been at Ground Zero, have there been any recent reports of any survivors being found?
Yes, as a matter of fact, 2 firemen were found in good condition.
This was just recent?
Yeah, that was about 2 hours ago, I got to guess. I lost track of time. Yeah. About 2 hours ago, we found them. They found them. They were in good condition. They were up and about, dehydrated, required some IV, but they were conversant and conscious. The other thing I saw was interesting was people not jumping over people who had fallen, but stopping to pick them up. Elderly people, they did move out the handicapped from, I don't know which building, but there was a chain of people in wheelchairs that came out of World Trade Center. Which building, I don't know. So they were under control. I spoke to one guy that came down, walked down from the 93rd floor. And he said at that point there was no smoke, although he was way above it. And everybody was calm, and they walked down single file as the fire department ran up. We saw firemen coming down from the roof on ropes into the area, and then the inside of the building, this is what I was told, due to the construction, the extreme heat melted the girders inside. Now, this is a building that is constructed by its shell. The outside of the building is what holds it up. Okay. When the girders inside, steel girders, burnt and bent inward, the building imploded within itself and fell down. Then as each layer hit the layer beneath it, each floor, it added additional weight and pressure, and just step by step came down, and there got to be thousands of people still in that building.
And because of all of that, the way it fell, could you walk us through? I know that you work for the EPA. Are you familiar with how exactly they're getting to victims? Do they have to use torches to cut the steel?
Or? Oh, yeah, they have heavy cranes. They have terrific equipment, tremendous stuff out there. They have torches. As a matter of fact, when I left, they were just breaking down a girder that I would say is as wide as this street, cutting it into pieces, sectioning it, lifting it up, moving it up, putting it on a flatbed, moving it out. And People themselves are great. They're bringing sandwiches, they're bringing water, they're bringing first aid equipment, they're bringing jackets and clothing, and they're inviting people. I would say about maybe 1% of the firemen or policemen require immediate medical care, and they have a variety of equipment, personal cars that are being used, flatbed trucks, pickups that people have brought in legitimately that were invited in.
Jack Hoyt with the U.S. Department of Environmental Protection Agency. Thank you so much for being with us today. You've been doing some great work down there. Nice to see you, sir. Thank you very much for your insight today. So as you can see, David and Ellie, as we told you earlier, and Mr. Hoyt illustrated much better than I can, just how difficult it is to get to the people trapped under that wreckage. If you can just picture, if we can just show you the street, a girder as wide as this street has to be lifted off. No easy task by any means. Back to you.
Dennis, it offers so much hope to know that more than 2 days after the fact, 2 survivors came out of that rubble.
Well, I was talking to one rescue worker last night, and he said that there are actually caverns. You know, for instance, if this girder fell on top of another one and there's a column propping it up, there might be a big air pocket beneath there. And so some of them are too narrow to actually go into. They're sending some cameras in, and then they might find air pockets in there. So that's what they're hoping to get to, are people trapped in there. And as Mr. Hoyt mentioned, there are 110 stories that collapsed, and then, you know, there are walls supporting them. It's quite possible that there are pockets like that, although many are saying that, you know, the clear majority of the people inside the building during those explosions who did not get out most likely died there.
All right, Dennis, thank you very much. Dennis House reporting live from New York. Government agents are tightening security at airports across the country as planes do begin flying again today.
We can expect it to be harder and to take longer to fly out as the government works to make flying safe again. Channel 3's Sarah Barr is live at Bradley International Airport this afternoon, where there have been some new developments in the past half hour.
Sarah, what can you tell us?
Well, absolutely. Some very exciting developments, David and Ellie. Let me tell you this. There are some changes here at Bradley International. We have video of the first plane to land here at the airport. Let's take a look at it. It was just taken just a short time ago by Channel 3 photographer John Roach. It's a Delta ferry, a shuttle. It is empty, according to the people in operations, and it did come in at 12:10 this afternoon. Now there are 16 planes that would like to take off, and there are many more passengers who would like to board and go home or go on vacation. Some people are not letting any inconvenience disrupt their patriotism and pride.
I want to show some support any way I can, and you know, basically my heart goes out to the families of the victims, and also to the rescue workers. And I just hope you know, we can all put this behind us, grow a little stronger, and you know, let's make it a learning experience.
It's going to be a difficult day, difficult time for many, but we are told when it comes to planes, we are told that American, TWA, and Southwest are not flying out today. You're asked to check with your airlines, and if you are going to be lucky enough to get out of Bradley today, you are going to be asked to get here at least 2 hours in advance. David and Ellie, let's get back to you.
All right, Sarah, 2 hours may be conservative, too. I mean, they're telling us to be very patient today.
Yes, I think a lot of people are very willing to be very patient, considering everything that's happened.
All right, thank you so much, Sarah. Sarah Barr live at Bradley International Airport this afternoon.
Coming up this afternoon here on Channel 3, a very special edition of Oprah. The whole show is going to be devoted to dealing with the New York and Washington tragedies.
Some of the topics covered will be questions like how do we grieve, how do we talk to our children, and how to find solace. Those issues will also be discussed on tomorrow's show. The programs air today and tomorrow at 4 o'clock right here on Channel 3.
In these difficult days since the World Trade Center attacked Connecticut and the world mourning and looking for healing.
Connecticut's major religious leaders will join together tomorrow for an interfaith service of prayer and healing. The service at Hartford's Cathedral of St. Joseph will be broadcast live here on Channel 3 starting at 11 a.m.
Please join us, a special moment to reflect, mourn, and help the healing process tomorrow morning right here on Channel 3 at 11.
And as life goes on in the aftermath of this tragedy, we're also looking ahead to the weather, and Scott Haney will be in with that coming up next.
He's coming back with more in just a bit. Our coverage of Attack on America does continue this afternoon, and one of those basics of life, the weather.
Scott Haney joins us now with the forecast. Scott?
All right, thank you. Good afternoon, everybody. It is a beautiful day outside. That's about to change. We're expecting some clouds to roll into the forecast, and underneath those clouds, we could actually see some rain, some much-needed rain. We're about 3.5 inches shy for the year, almost an inch shy for this month of September. So anything we can get, we will take. We'll take you out and show you some of those temperatures right now. It's nice and comfortable outside. 75 up in Springfield, Windsor locks at 75. Hartford coming in at 77. You've got Wyndham at 76. Let me step out of the map here. Meriden at 80 degrees. Waterbury 73. Danbury 74. Bridgeport 75. New Haven 73. And New London also coming in at 73 degrees today. Let's forge ahead. We'll show you the cloud coverage. It is back to the north and to the west, covering most of central New York. There are some breaks in the action, and underneath these clouds, there's not a lot of moisture to deal with. It's going to arrive later as the cold front does approach. And when that cold front approaches, we're going to have the daytime heating, and we are expecting some rain out of it in front of the passage of that cold front. Let's put the timing anywhere between 3 and 6, probably hold off a little bit later in some areas until about 7 o'clock. Now, once the rain exits, much cooler weather is in store for Connecticut. It's going to start to feel like autumn. So as those kids are heading off to school and you're heading off to work, make sure you've got a nice blazer to wear with you in the morning, because temperatures are going to be downright chilly in the 40s. And over the weekend, there actually could be some scattered frost throughout Connecticut as some really cool air moves on in tomorrow and stays with us for the entire weekend. Speaking of the weekend, here's your 5-day planner. Looks great today. Tonight, rainy, and we could use some rain. Just be careful out on those roadways. You got a lot on your mind these days. You don't need any more excitement in your life, let's just put it. So just be careful out there. Friday, tomorrow, 60 degrees. Saturday, 63. Sunday, 66. And Monday, we start to warm up a little bit with a temperature of 75 degrees. But we have no hurricanes to worry about at this point. No tropical storms. There's one in the Gulf of Mexico, which could be affecting Florida. But that's far enough away from us that we don't have to worry about it.
We've really gotten a break this hurricane season.
Which we deserve.
Yeah.
Which we deserve.
We certainly
because with what was on our plate this week, I don't think we needed anything else to deal with.
No, sir.
I agree. All right.
All right, we'll see you in a bit.
Thanks, Scott. We'll see you in just a little
Scott.
bit. It's such a difficult tragedy to deal with, to say the very least, but it is bringing out the best in many Connecticut residents.
We'll be joined live by the Assistant Chief of the East Hartford Fire Department and hear how that department is answering the call to help. We'll be right back. Welcome back, everyone. Now, since this attack on Tuesday, we've been hearing stories of heroism and how this tragedy is bringing out the best in all of us.
For firefighters, though, the tragedy is personal, with many of them being killed while they were doing their jobs.
Here in Connecticut, the East Hartford Fire Department is trying to help rescue workers in the thick of things in New York.
Here to talk more about that is Brian Rykowski, the Assistant Chief of the East Hartford Fire Department. Thank you very much for joining us today. What exactly are you looking for? What would you like people to bring?
Well, what we're doing right now is we're collecting T-shirts and socks is what we really thought to start. We're finding now that we're getting people dropping off not only T-shirt and socks, but they're giving us flashlights and all kinds of equipment. Actually, what we're going to say now is we've already filled pretty much about a truck's worth of equipment, T-shirt and socks for the rescuers to wear when they're all wet after they get out. And we're actually asking people if they could look at some other agencies, the Red Cross and the Salvation Army, to donate stuff to. Right now, we're pretty much getting filled up with what we've already started to collect. They might want to talk to some of those other agencies and see what they can bring to them.
Brian, we hear you've gotten truckloads of donations from people all around Connecticut.
Yes, we've already had people in trucks and vans stopping at the fire stations and dropping off cases full of T-shirts and socks. We've also had a contact and donation from Ocean State Job Lot that they'll be bringing us a tractor-trailer truckload of socks, underwear, and T-shirts. So we've got an overwhelming response from people.
Brian, it's interesting. You've been involved in long-term recovery efforts. Yep. Many of us, socks would be the last thing that we would think of for rescuers needing, but you say that's one of the things they need most.
Oh no, I know everybody thinks about feeding the rescuers and giving them water, but nobody really thinks. I've been there, and when you come out after 5, 6, 7, 8 hours, 12 hours, as they're going to be doing in New York, and you are soaked with sweat in your T-shirt, and your socks have been in your boots, and you've been wearing the same socks for 12 hours. That's the last thing people think about, but it's probably the most things you need at that point.
All right, thank you so much, Brian, for joining us today. Brian Rykowski from the East Hartford Fire Department.
Notice the black band on his badge in obvious tribute to those firefighters and other emergency officials who have died in New York. We're all sure to have stories to share about September 11th, from where we were to the kinds of things that we were doing when the blast occurred.
When we come back, Scott Haney will join us and we'll share some of the emails that you, our viewers, have sent to us. We'll be right back. Just to reiterate for you, those of you who would like to donate T-shirts or socks for the rescue workers, you can donate it at any one of the stations, fire stations in East Hartford.
Scott, you have another email?
This is a great email, kind of sums it up. Scott, didn't know that you had a place in New York. It was comforting to see you and other WFSB team members there, as we feel that you are family to us here in Connecticut and that you would express our feelings for us. We hope that your family as well. It is. Thank you. Connecticut residents are ready, willing, and able to help even more. Hopefully, you will continue to let us know how, and we will in the coming days.
Thank you for that email.
God bless all of you for being there, the Argenta family from Windsor, Connecticut. And again, the condolences for Bruce DePriest and his family. His wife's brother was aboard one of those ill-fated flights that crashed into the World Trade Tower. We are still accepting them, and I will be passing them along to Bruce. He's actually coming back to work tomorrow night. I'll be doing the morning. Bruce will be here tomorrow night. He feels the need to get back to work, and I don't blame him. So we wish him and his whole family a fantastic and speedy recovery, and we're with them.
Bruce and Laura, we are thinking about you.
We're going to join
Thanks,
CBS
Scott.
in New York.
Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. I once was lost, but now am found. Was blind, but now I see. 'Twas grace that taught my heart to fear, and grace my fears relieved. How precious deep that grace appeared. The hour I first believed, through many dangers, toils, and snares, we have already come, and the grace that brought us safe thus far, and the grace, and the grace will